All right, sit back, relax. It's time for another Laneway Talks.
Good morning, Rob. Welcome to Laneway Talks. How are you this week?
I'm good, Vince. Good morning to you. Thanks for having me once again.
Now, we've got a few things to talk about today. Just on a more macro, just to recap, I've got some articles which go over New South Wales' big money splash on I suppose, multimedia and music and whatever. Then we've got some news on, well, I suppose for those, AI and taking over the music industry and the illegal selection of music or the base of music. And
Yes.
then another one, the Sydney University has joined a strong coalition of supporters for a founding set of principles. Right now, that kind of thing there would be very relevant to you. And so I suspect you know a lot about that, but we'll get to it, and then we'll talk about Laneway Red also, because we have gone out now to the market for testing, and we're going to push to another level. So, what have you got this week, Rob? Let's start with you.
Well, I mean, last week I sort of had a little bit, but Pokey's death to music was my conversation that I had with a customer in the shop.
Say that again, Rob. What was it?
Pokies.
You mean
the poker machines?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the death to music and what they did here in this state.
Oh, every state, mate. That the pokies do apply everywhere. We got them here too, haven't we? Yeah, we have. We've got them here too.
Everywhere's got them. But in 1992, the South Australian government legalised poker machines. Which was the almighty death blow to Adelaide's thriving popular live music scene that came to follow in 1994, because by 1994 all the big venues had closed down and basically just had poker machines, and musicians were stuffed in the corner with vocal PAs and drummers playing on kick and snare drum with a set of brushes or multi-rod.
It's an indictment on society, do you think, Rob, that happened? I mean, let's look at that just before you go
Well, I think
further.
the thing for me was live music has always been at the mercy of the state and federal government and big business. And I would argue that their control over the media, local government and the community at large is insidious, and non-transparent agendas have greatly affected the nature of live music in this country. For most, being a musician is not a very lucrative career in monetary terms. Creatives have challenges, especially in business dealings, and the musical compositions do reflect that in song. And I perceive it as a historical reflection of Australian styles of music show up and they show what has changed in music. And like one prime example is tribute bands and tribute acts, and the way, that's jumping a few decades, but we're at the era of tribute acts.
There is a cycle. There is a cycle there, and it is definitely
there is a cycle there. But I think one of the prime causes of that was the introduction of poker machines and legalisation. But the thing was, and I've got this quote here, and it's out of my research because I do discuss it in my research, and it's from a writer called Kevin Norton, Counting the Cost of 20 Years of Pokies in SA, that Michael Atkinson was the backbench MP in the Bannon Arnold ALP government, and they were saddled with the debt burden from the 1992 state bank collapse here in South Australia.
Yeah.
Now, Michael Atkinson later served as Attorney General in the Rand government, and today sits as Speaker in the House of Assembly. The only other sitting member of that House at that time was Bob Such, and he's on extended sick leave for some reason. The Pokies law was introduced as a private member's bill by Treasurer Frank Blevins, so that MPs could exercise a conscience vote. Now, while there are many forms of reasonable assumptions within this argument, the government's money grab to reclaim the state bank disaster, something that was introduced to the conversation with a customer that I had in the shop, was the generative artificial intelligence music creation program called Suno. And what I did was I actually put a paragraph in my research into that new AI program to generate whatever it generated. And it came up with a really interesting bunch of lyrics and a really interesting Evanescence type, audio slave type song. Now you can hear in the creation of what they've done, they've pinched basically pop songwriting 101 in the arrangement, the way it's verse, chorus, middle eight, breakdown, repeat the chorus, come back into the third verse, and then you've got a tag on the end, and then there's a breakdown at the end. So it's a really good formula that they're using in Suno, and I found it fascinating because I put my research in, and all of a sudden a song was generated out of it, and that's what's happening these days. And when you go back to Rick Beato, was talking about this in his latest blog yesterday, that Suno, one of the AI companies that has just been sued.
Well, I'll bring that up. I have an article here on that. I'm going to bring that up today.
By the majors. That was in Rick Beato's blog. He had that article, I think, maybe that you're going to talk about.
No, it was in a different article, but it's all the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's jumping, but it's quite strange that AI would create a song about what I'm talking about, which is what AI is doing in the next phase of the end of the music business.
My opinion, Rob, for that is that, and I will bring this up shortly, and there is a big push against this by the industry, and they can push, and they're going to go against it, and, what's illegal and what's not, and they want to work with them, and whichever way you look at it, with time, given time, this will flourish, and it will just happen out there. They can hold it back for a while, but they won't be able to hold it back forever. I've seen this in many areas of music over the last 30 years, 40 years. But what we need to, I think, make sure that is still occurring is that creativity comes from a human, and the creativity that comes from a computer is simulated, therefore there is no original creativity. Now, I could be wrong, but whichever way you will look at it, it will always flourish, and it's going to be a problem, and we will never be able to hold it back in the long run. It will happen.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I don't know. I think about this probably way too much, but come back to, like, when you were learning to play, what were you listening to? What were the drummers or the bands that influenced you? There's a whole lot talked about it in past.
Yeah. 70s, 70s drummers, okay?
That's right. It's the same thing that they're doing with AI. They're just basically they have to play AI all that music so it can actually take bits of it and construct the different genres that they've got listed now. What's the difference between me being influenced by, Deep Purple or Black Sabbath or Rush or Audio Slave, or I use those influences when I play.
It's a very good correlation that you just spoke about there.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Beato talks about it again. It's the same thing. We use it to learn. We've all got to learn from something, and then we recreate it. All right, who owns the copyright on any of that? Is creativity even copyrightable?
Yeah, very, very good point. Very good point. I think that, you can't hold back progress, and AI is now unleashed, and it is going to be a beast. Will that beast overtake, Rob? Will that beast overtake your creativity as a human being or not? Time will tell. Trying to hold it back as the music industry is futile in the long run. I'm so happy for them to do it, but it's futile in the long run, because I believe in the long run AI will still be there. You can try and hold it back as much as you want, but it'll just start to flourish. So it's a really hot topic. I could say that I could bring this up now. The Stop Devaluing Music Arts Rights Alliance. For those hoping to see the rise of generative AI take over the music industry, we have some bad news. It's not just that you're the human embodiment of abject stupidity, which I find a crazy statement to put in there. I just find that such an arrogant statement. All the biggest heavy hitters in the business are taking steps to fight against it. Well, of course they are. It's all about money.
Yeah.
Case in point, the Record Industry Association of America has launched 2 new copyright infringement lawsuits against AI-based Suno and Udio, alleging their unlawful use of copyrighted sound recordings from all the big 3 major. Of course they will, and they would be unlawful, I reckon. I would have taken something to train their AI models. As reported by Digital News, the RIAA, the American Copyright organisation, these are landmark cases marking a significant step in protecting artists, songwriters and rights holders. Yeah, well, they've got to do that, and that's what they're there to do. Will you hold it back long term? I don't believe you will. This will all be short term. Then I've got another article here, which I brought up. Sydney University has joined 50-strong coalition of supporters for a founding set of principles which outline the responsible use of AI in music creation. Now, those principles will be important.
Good luck with that.
But that's exactly what I said. Good luck with that. They will be important, as any, I suppose, theoretical writings and researchers are. First published in March by Roland Corp and Universal, the Principles for Music Creation with AI is said to be a shared philosophy around the use of computer learning in the creation of music. These guidelines have been embraced with positive momentum across the music industry, say reps on the campaign, and are now adopted by 50 prominent music companies, association institutions. Yeah, and it goes on and goes on, right? These are the 7 core principles or clarifying statements. We believe music is central to humanity. Yeah, I believe that. We believe humanity and music are inseparable. Yeah, I believe that. We believe that technology has long supported human artistic expression and applied sustainably. AI will amplify human creativity. Not sure about that. That's my personal opinion. We believe
control.
Yeah, exactly. We believe that human-created works must be respected and protected. Well, of course we believe that. Will that happen? Not a chance. It'll just run wild. We believe that transparency is essential to responsible and trustworthy AI. Well, that's just ridiculous. That's a trustworthy AI. It will overtake.
Is there an on and off switch for trustworthy on AI?
Yeah. We believe I'm with you. We believe the perspectives of music artists, songwriters, and other creators must be sought after and respected. Well, of course we believe that. I mean, you read that and it's just fluff and it's just hopeful. I think AI will just run riot. Anyway, that's my opinion on it. Yeah, we've got some real issues in this area, and it's going to be a very hard couple of years in controlling what's real and what's not, and what is real on the online, music sites, whether they be, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever. So we've got some really hard questions coming up, and people like yourself, Rob, who've got a PhD, are going to be extremely important in interpreting what the hell, is going on. I really believe that. So,
thanks for saying that. I mean, I continue my research, every day, and the matter of surviving as a PhD is another whole other can of worms there. But there's a lot of really good people out there at the forefront, and I think, Beato, albeit being the North American point of view, has got really good information that people can draw on for that. But there's one good, beautiful thing about the internet is the access to the amount of quality research if you dig hard enough.
Yeah.
And you vet your sources and you make sure you can kind of get clear on the agenda from the sources that have written that great information. I mean, the one thing Beato talked about yesterday too, I mean, I'm banging on a little bit about it, but he put up a graph. The average daily song uploads to all music streaming platforms in 2023 was 100,000 song uploads a day.
Yeah, I have seen that on another information sheet. I got 120,000 a day.
Yeah, but the thing that what's been in Beato's blog that he put up was he said back when he was a kid, and we did the same thing, we came from the same generation. I had a job when I was 15 from school, and I used to get my pay in a pay packet in cash, and I'd walk down the mall in Marion Shopping Centre, and I'd go into a place called CC Records.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, knew them well. CC were in Melbourne too.
And I'd spend 30 minutes of my 45-minute lunch break in there going through the albums, and then I'd pull it up, and I'd give it to the salesperson behind the counter, and they'd put it on, and I'd go down and I'd whack on some headphones and I'd listen to it. And if I liked it, I'd buy it and I'd take it home, and then I'd listen to the album over and over again. I'd invite friends over and I'd listen to the album over and over again. Now, I had to work to get the money to buy that. I had to get to work. I had to work during the day. I had to go out and find the record and listen to it and then pay for it with my own money, then come back. Spotify, what is it, $10.99 is the price?
I think a bit more than that, mate, on a single, $13.99, $14.99.
Yeah, but you've got access to music 24/7 and you've got access to everything, every style, pretty much every album that's ever been released. You don't really get time to absorb a song or an album in that sense where you've had to pay for it.
What's your point,
in
though?
Blood and sweat.
What's your point?
Well, the way people listen to music and the way consumers are with music and the way the new generation of music listeners are is they don't have to pay for any of it. They're just so smattered with every form of music ever that I don't think they really sit back and reflect and absorb what they've got. They've got an attention span of 30 seconds, a minute.
If you think about that, let's just explore that a bit and say, well, therefore, would you expect that there would be a greater distribution of listening across multiple or a lot more artists, and therefore we would get a better spread? Or do you think that all that's happened is the majors have still got all the money and are controlling the whole industry, so it's only the top echelon of artists who are supported by the majors are getting that bulk of listen because of the marketing and promo, which has always been there from the beginning? Is that a relevant statement to you?
Yeah, I still think that the difference is when you first start listening to music, you went out and saw local bands, got a record deal or whatever, and then their first record came out, and you waited, and then you had to go and buy it, and then came home and you listened to it, and you went, oh, it's a little bit different to what I saw live, and you had this direct contact with it, and you had to wait for it, and you had time to absorb it and think about it. I don't think the same as that anymore. I think it's very surface, very shallow. You can skip on to the next artist. You don't really get time to... a lot of albums, there was a lot of songs on there and went, I don't know, it's going to take a few listens. How many times did you listen to an album? 20 times before you went, wow, I'm starting to hear what the artist is talking about now. But these days, you don't like it.
I don't disagree with that. Okay, so I think your point is very valid. But progress is progress, and we won't be stopping that. And the development of technology and everything that's happening in music and various other music-related areas or entertainment areas are affecting everybody. So we have to deal with what we've got, and we have to say, right, well, what's happening here with AI? Well, I personally think that AI will be being sued on multiple levels for a long time. I mean, there is talk that the major distributors, online distributors, are using AI for their own revenue generation. So it's not about music, that's just about pumping and getting you to listen to it, and they're making the money internally. There's all that to be discovered, and there's a lot of that I think that will come out. But it is progress, it is the world, and so we have to learn to live with it. And it's whether there's a belief, Rob, that human creativity will always outshine artificial intelligence. And that's a really big question, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, I'm not really sure whether it will if you're actually careful enough to not be brainwashed by the digital world we live in. You have to come back and I think educate yourself in what's really going on. But it's happening so fast that it happens at the speed of... that song I was talking about took probably less than 10 minutes to generate a full song, full set of lyrics. 10 minutes.
I mean, no doubt. You don't need to convince me there's some real dangers involved in this whole area of progress. But the point of the matter is it is happening, and it will happen. And it will break through eventually. I'm going to, you bring up those articles I was bringing up where they're going to, the record industry is going to sue, a couple of those platforms and try and control them. You'll only do it for so long. And then,
but the thing is, Beato talks about this too. The world's largest music company is helping musicians make their own AI voice clones. The majors are supporting it.
I don't disagree with you. That's why I say I don't think in the long term there will be any holding back. They're only feeding their own beast, and they're only interested in themselves. And as I've said in the past on episodes of Laneway Talks, is that the majors are making more money than they have ever made in their, let's say 40 or 50 year history, made the ones now.
Yeah.
And they're making that money because a lot of the costs have now disappeared. The physical costs, distribution costs, whatever, their marketing departments are being reduced, and so they're in a better playing field than they've ever been in, and they're able to therefore generate much bigger profits at much smaller input costs, and they're just controlling the industry. So we have to accept that's happening. But I do have a belief that because of the very nature of the expansion of technology, that smaller organisations, be it Laneway Music or smaller labels, are also going to build their power up and put pressure on the majors. Now, I do believe that because the technology itself is self-fulfilling in some formal sense, that it puts up against the majors. They can't control it, whereas in the past they could always control it, was money. So I believe there's opportunities there for the smaller ones, and it makes for a more level playing field. It may take a fair few more years yet, but I do see this happening. But AI is going to be a real force to deal with, and how we control it is going to be monumental. Just taking legal action against them, that's number one, but how you control it's another thing. So, and it does get into the old theoretical movies, Terminator and all that, and artificial intelligence and all the robots controlling. So anyway, that's a bit on that, Rob. Otherwise, we'll talk the whole episode on it. What else did you have, Rob?
Just to recap the process of being a musician, I think we're talking about being a listener. The process of being a musician is, being able to have an instrument, being able to play it, being able to record it, and then being able to record music. That's a really different process now as well. So something we could talk about probably down the track. But, I even look back at how we recorded everything for the soldiers, and how we're still trying to record things in real time and not use digital audio workstations, doors to replace everything, because these days, it's too easy to get great sounds.
So you're talking really about the demise of the studios and
everyone's just using plugins and everyone's got great sounds and nobody's actually created them themselves. They've just pinched great sounds from $1 million studios.
Yeah.
It's like the whole electronic drum kit thing is when people come in and, buy an electronic drum kit. And I view it from a teacher's point of view. When you have to play an acoustic instrument, you've got to get the sound out of it yourself. You learn how to do that. Your process, your physicality, your time, all of that are really important in your sound. Now, turn on an electronic drum kit, you can choose anyone's sound from Cozy Powell to Dave Weckl to Steve Gadd to your kid.
I'm one of those terrible drummers. You see, I haven't played an acoustic set in at least 2 years.
Yeah, I've had to change everything, back to silent pads because, upsetting neighbours, recording things. I've done 160 videos that I've recorded acoustically. I've got all my own microphones. I've got great drums.
We can see that in all your videos. Can see it all there.
And I've spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours working every day to try and get good sounds. And all of a sudden, I've had to stop that process because I'm upset the neighbours. And that is easy to replace because I can still get great sounds, but I'm not making them myself. My point is don't lose touch with your acoustic instrument and don't lose touch with, trying to get your own sound still. Don't pinch somebody else's.
Well, I read an article this morning about Dave Grohl and Taylor Swift. And
no, don't get me started on Dave Grohl, please.
Yeah, well, anyway, and it was talking about how Taylor Swift, it was questionable, how much of her set in her live shows, how much was creeping in that was pre-recorded. I just didn't have a problem with it at all. I thought, look, if you're going to have pre-recorded parts in there, that's what it is and that's what your audience are happy with. To me, that is simply not an issue. Now, if you're a band that goes out and does it all live, well, you're that type of band, mistakes and all. And that's fantastic too. So I'm kind of open to it because I think that it's going to happen anyway. You can't stop any of that, so we can talk till the cows come home. But you will not stop that form of progress.
Oh, yeah. No, not at all.
Is it progress or not? I don't know, but you're not going to stop it. So,
I mean, bands at that level now have, I'll use that because they want people to basically get an exact copy of what they're listening to.
Exactly.
At home.
Exactly.
So I don't know whether that's good.
I know. It's a big question. So another thing I was bringing up was the music industry's main takeaway from the New South Wales government's 24-25 budget. So what they've put in there, and this will come across to other territories, in Australia too, but let's use theirs as an example. Destination New South Wales was getting $324 million to deliver events, calendars across metro and regional. That includes Vivid, South by Southwest, and all that kind of stuff. Arts and Culture Funding Program was getting $73 million to support grassroots community arts organisations. Screen and Digital Games were getting $35 million. I'll come back to that in a sec. Nighttime Economy was getting $26.9 million. We're back to this, we discussed last week, that, this Nighttime Economy Commission. I think that was in Queensland. And music, now have a listen. I want you to get ready for it. Hold your seat, mate. Music was getting $18.5 million for Sound New South Wales.
Ooh.
To deliver programs that drive audience and international market development, strengthen the live music industry and champion New South Wales artists. Well, not a lot there compared to the rest, is there?
No, not at all.
Right? And so if you go back to digital games, Screen and Digital Games, $35 million, that should be $135 million. because that area not only develops we had a gaming company when I was at Mushroom, me and Michael, and it didn't do so well, but we punted. It's a punt, but there is so much money to be made in games, and with music also to be made in games, and so that should be a lot more because the returns are phenomenal if your game really takes off. Nighttime economy, 26 million. Now, what that was for is to develop a vibrant, safe and diverse nighttime precinct across the state and the delivery of the refreshed New South Wales 24-hour economy strategy. I personally think you could make that zero. Let's just make it zero and then pump all the money into music for New South Wales. Sound New South Wales deliver programs that drive audience and international market development. And I think you would
needs it.
You would get far more return if you crack a few. Now, that comes back to a statement of yours last week. And that statement by you was that, at the end of the day, we can talk about all the peripherals around the music, but at the end of the day, the creation comes from the artist. And that's where it all starts. And none of that has changed. It's still happening. Everybody else is going broke. I think we were talking about venues going bust. And so they're all still going bust, but the individual artists are still being creative and doing what they always do. So I look at things like that and I think, well, I don't think it's right, 73 million to support grassroots and community arts organisations. Yeah, I can, but you got to be careful with that. Most of those, I'll be very blunt about, be controversial. And so usually a lot of old people or whatever, like me, old people.
And me.
Old people putting on some kind of, fairy tale little things going on down to the local church or something else or, really, really so niche that, mate, why would we even spend 73 cents on it? And what we need to think about is we need to think about that young Australian population who have got their whole, their whole life in front of them and can develop some real creativity to bring in money. And that helps the economy and that helps everybody. Anyway, I know that's controversial, but that's what I think. So there's quite a bit of money flowing around there, and that's happening in every state because I think you brought it up it's happening over there in SA also, and they're doing a big push on, creativity and whatever. We know Queensland are because we brought that up in the last ep. And here in Victoria, anything's possible because we're the broke state. I think we owe $170 billion, no hope of ever paying it back. And so, I don't see a lot being shoved out. But, then I kept thinking about this all week that across working, on everything that we're working on in music is that this, I'm just sick and tired of the venues that go, we're doing it tough, we need support. Well, you're doing it tough because the government is placing on you so many more restrictions about employment, noise, and everything that goes with it, insurance, and all these things are making it so much harder for you to just deliver a gig and to have a gig. And so I blame the governments for impinging on these venues, restrictions on how they are delivering. And, what needs that, whether it needs to be a yellow strip at the front door so you don't trip. It's never been there before, but it's got to be there now. Everything costs. And so, but then we did talk about in previous episodes how these venues are commercial organisations. Why are we supporting commercial organisations? And but what isn't stopping, as you rightly said in the last episode, the creativity of the musicians, that doesn't stop. That's still going stronger than ever. So we kind of have to take stock, but everything is a political game or a social game or a community game. And so I stick to my music and go, we need to make sure our musicians are supported because they will find a way to break out. And if the songs are good, the songs will break out. And there's so many avenues digitally now for you to promote yourself. So, there is ways of getting by all of this as a musician. Anyway, look, there's quite a few things happening out there, with AI and the majors, doing their hot air. And as I say there, the government's throwing all this money. And we've brought this up in previous episodes, we'll never know what they spent and who got it, will we? You might dig down and find some, but has it all been spent, or will it all be spent, or do they make it so hard that you can't actually get it anyway? We've tried for grants in the past, and we gave up about 4 years ago, never to do it again. It was near on impossible. And unless you're in what we call the indie mafia, you didn't have a chance. Because there's a group that control all this within the government or the related government agencies. Anyway, so it still then comes back to the music. And say, for example, what Laneway Music is doing, trying to help artists, of course, to make money too, by the way. I'll never shy away. We are here to make money. But in a sector where nobody gives a damn anymore about those artists. A lot of our artists, nobody cares. So you're either on it yourself on CD Baby or something, I don't know, SoundCloud, or nobody's going to take any interest. Nobody's going to market you, that's for sure. So, we're very proud of that, and so we service that sector. Now, what comes with that too now, Rob, is Laneway Red, which went out for just beta testing to very select few as of last week.
Yep.
And we've got, and it's beta testing because we've got some issues. So we're fixing those, but we're only discussing it this morning here, and we found that it's really slowing down in the issues. I mean, the biggest issue we got at the moment, which we're working on, is that if you're playing, say I'm playing Virgin Soldiers and I play the album and it stops at the end of the album, which it shouldn't, it should, and you might go, well, come on, you should be able to fix that. Well, it's not that easy. To pick other artists or songs in that genre and continue to play. So that's our biggest little issue we're having right now, and we've had 2 goes at fixing it and we haven't fixed it. So it'll be fixed in the next 24, 48 hours, I can assure you of that.
So question,
yeah,
just the Soldiers are an example, which is a hard rock type of artist. How do you link it? Do you link it to another hard rock artist, or do you link it?
What happens,
the process is going to be?
Well, what happens, Rob, is when you're setting up, let's use Virgin Soldiers, so you're setting up the song or the album Virgin Soldiers, and you will put in there you can have up to 3 different genre tags, okay? So it could be hard rock, rock and adult, I would suggest on that. So therefore, the way the random play should work at the end of playing your album, it should pick other artists within the hard rock, rock or adult categories. Now, if you didn't put the adult, well, then you'd have rock and hard rock, and it should randomly pick songs there. I mean, I know that sounds super simple, but it's never simple, in programming.
No. None of it's simple. It's all got a length.
So,
ones and zeros.
That's what would happen there in that instance, and that's what we're looking for now. We thought we had it fixed this morning. Well, unfortunately not. So, another day or two and we'll have that fixed. Now, we know there'll be more, because we've fixed a fair few other issues that people told us about, but nothing dramatic. So we're going to have to move to the next stage. It was 30 days on a very select few beta testing. We will have to move to, we will put it up on our Facebook page and invite everybody on Facebook to get involved. Now, that's when we'll really start to get some problems, I suspect. Now, there's one is that there's the member area. So you're not a musician, you're just a member and you want to listen, and that is free of charge. The only thing that's payable is when if you want to buy a download, if you want to just listen. Now, the artist decides whether it's free streaming or only 30 seconds of streaming or no streaming. And so we suspect there will get a fair few things will come out of the woodwork, but probably not as much until you start getting artists joining and putting all their music up. Now, we think we've tested most of it, so you never know. Hopefully it won't be too bad. A few areas where we've had some comments are that in the bio areas, well, doesn't look that flash. Well, no, the whole site isn't a super flash site. It's there to do a job and be productive in that job by allowing you to listen to music that we hope that we can use advertisers for in the future to help fund, but at the moment just downloads, and to then bring other side plugins into it, and whether it be selling equipment, which you will be able to do, ticketing, a whole heap of other side plugins, which are all in development now. Some of them are finished and some aren't. They won't filter through for 12 months. So we're building the base of the business first. So it's very exciting to get this going, and I haven't had any super negative responses to date in the last couple of weeks when we just went out. What was your impressions of it, Rob?
I think it's good. You can scroll through the artists that you're want to have a listen to and click on them and listen to the songs. I mean, as you said, it's simple as you haven't gone for the bells and whistles approach, which is refreshing in one way because it's not too complicated to use. I think that's really important because there's so many distractions on other platforms as well that are difficult. Even going back to listening to what like, is there a history that you can check on what, like you make your own playlists?
Yes, that's all there. You can make your own playlist. You've got to be a member to do that. But there's no charge to be a member. You just got to be a member.
Yep.
Yeah, you can playlist, comment, share it, all that kind of jazz. That's all there. And so that, realistically, we're at the grassroots of that kind of business in that it's just about the music and sharing at this point and commenting and trying to build some kind of mass. We've got all our titles, but there's still thousands of our titles that aren't up there. I think we've got 8,000 of our titles up and there's about another 8,000 to come.
Whoa.
Okay? So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. And we did a bulk ingestion and then we had issues, so then we had to come back and yada, yada, yada. So that just gives us more that are going to be released every day of the week on there. And so, and then there'll be people who want to join and start putting in their own music. So we're hoping for a natural progression or a natural birth of that kind of business that grows on its own credibility, that it's real, it's raw, it's not bells and whistles. And we've built it ourselves and to a lot of time and our money. And so, we will know in 12 months where we're heading. And with the backing of APRA, AMCOS, I think that's just another bonus. We will have to go to the other rights organisations around the world, and that's to be the next kind of move. But we're not out trying to push over Spotify or Apple, where they're doing what we do and trying to be honest about a platform for the artists where they can then market, and that's built in there. You can go out and market to, send emails or send messages or do what you want to do to your audience or people that have listened to you on there, and specifically, which you can't do anywhere else because nobody else gives you that kind of relationship to your listeners. They might give you, they reckon they do, but you don't know whether they do. And it's always about related listeners or listeners like that. And so you never have any facts. Ours is straightforward. People listen to you, you can go out to them, and you can, hit them with emails, or you can hit them up with messages online there through the system, yada, yada, yada. And that's what's really important is developing your own core audience that is real, as opposed to if you go to YouTube, Spotify, Meta, we don't know what's real. We don't. And we market on there every day, Rob, and we still couldn't tell you what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, I know. It's challenging, isn't it?
Absolutely challenging, and a lot of money goes into it. We're doing some Spotify marketing at the moment. The results are pretty poor, but, you do see them on there straight away, and we need to push some artists that way, so we have to do it. But the results are quite poor. It comes down to with them, it's very obvious. The more money you spend, we'll open it up a bit more for you. All right. So, a little bit on the how's your father side. But we need, on certain artists, we need to get something happening. We need to get them more core listeners, and that's how we're doing it too. As I've said to you in the past, there is no correlation between Meta and YouTube or Google to Spotify or Apple or Deezer. There is no relationship whatsoever. You do not get cross-promotion on there. So it doesn't work.
Is that because they're competitors?
Well, I suspect so. What we got told just recently in a Facebook post, never put the Spotify link up in the description of the title of what you're promoting. So you might go, brand new track from Virgin Soldiers, Junkie's Paradise, have a listen, and it's great. What we used to do is put right underneath that either the link to Spotify, or you'd put the link in, it would bring up the picture from Spotify, then you delete the link, but it's kept it there. So if you click on the picture in Facebook, it would take you to Spotify. What we've been told, don't do that because Meta don't like it. Because then you're leaving their platform. So what you do is you put that link in the comments. So then we'll go and make a comment as Laneway Music with everybody else and go, here's the link to Spotify.
That's why they do that, link in comments.
Right.
How many times have you seen that?
There you go. And so they don't pick it up. Now, they probably will eventually because it'll get more used. But anyway, there's things like that you've got to see. But we suspect that if you put it up the top, what they do is they restrict who it gets sent to, or if it's getting too many clicks on the Spotify link, they'll just restrict the whole post.
Yeah, that's obviously competitors, but that kind of, we run out of time, but the Ash from E11 Live, Loud and Heavy. Hey, Ashley, I know he listens every week and he likes our Laneway Talks. Thanks for the support. Yep. He said about artists being basically set up by the Spotify platform and deleted through...
saw all that.
Overplaying the music with bots, and then they're going, you've used bots, and boom, because there's no transparency on any of these programs. How do you know who's paid for the bots?
in the past, Rob, if you had have put your song on repeat, so I created a playlist just for your Virgin Soldiers Junkies Paradise, put it on repeat and left it there. Well, fools used to leave it doing 2,000 or 3,000, and Spotify used to pick that up. What they don't look for is anything under 1,000. So if we were to ever do that in the past, we would always only do it to about 500 streams. Now, that's not enough to get it to 1,000 streams, which is the line in the sand, to move it across for revenue generation. And also, if you see each song, it's about either less than 1,000 or then it starts ticking across once it goes over. But to give it a bit of a push, you might get it to 500, but you never take it more. But the ones that do, they get pinged. And now they're being more aggressive about it. I did read some articles this week about that, where they're getting a lot more aggressive about not only the AI-related ones, but with bots. And I think it's because they're doing it themselves. Isn't that that's terrible for me to say that? That's what I think. I think that Spotify do it themselves, and therefore it will get you out of the play. It's what we do. And they, as I said in the past, they keep the money themselves, and so they don't have to share it with anybody. Anyway, those are things for later discussion. But like any platform, I would suspect they'll be under pressure at some point in time. They never dominate forever because someone else comes up with something, newer and better. It's like, there's got to be something that comes. Is it Laneway Red in the future, or is it something else? But it's really about, for us, it's about honesty with the music, and therefore the creativity that comes through that music, and yada, yada, yada. So so that's what's going to happen. I think that we'll have to go out with a post on Facebook early, which will probably be next week, with Laneway Red. That will bring a lot more people on, because all we've done is invited people at this stage. And we will see another pickup, and we'll see whether it breaks or whatever, or whether there's any issues we haven't found yet. And that's what it's all about at the moment. And, because the next phase after that will be marketing. And then we go out marketing it to the world. So that's about it for today from me. It's about Laneway Red at the moment. Every day we pick up something and we try and fix it and get it ready for public consumption and for the musicians. Okay?
There you go.
All right. Well, in that case, we've gone an hour. We've gone over budget then. So we'll have to stop it here, Rob, and talk to you next week.
We'll do, Vince. No worries. That was good.
All right, mate. Bye.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it, another Laneway Talks. If you enjoyed that, just search Laneway Talks for more great conversations.